Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this, the Fairborn City Schools Board of Education regular meeting, Thursday, February 4th, 2021. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight, to honor America, we have asked Taylor Henson, a fourth grader here in the district, to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Taylor?
To the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Taylor. Why don't we go over the report? Here.
Browning. Here. Mrs. Milan.
Here.
Ms. Reeser.
Here.
Mr. Wilson.
Item number 3 will be to approve the agenda as presented. May I have a motion? So moved.
Second.
Good, thank you. Roll call, please.
Mr. Wilson.
Yes.
Mr. Browning.
Yes.
Mrs. Milan.
Yes.
Ms. Reeser.
Yes.
Mr. McCord.
Yes. Next item will be to approve the minutes of Thursday, January 7th, 2021, organizational meeting, and the regular meeting minutes. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Katie. Thanks, Andy. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Milan.
Yes.
Mr. Wilson.
Yes.
Mr. Browning.
Yes.
Ms. Reeser.
Yes.
Mr. McCord.
Yes. Next item is board reports, and for the good of the order, can we start with Katie, please?
Okay. I'd just like to thank the staff and at the all buildings for getting kids back in at the start of the second quarter. I know that the parents who had children at home for 3 months were very happy to see them return to school, at least I was. And to give a big shout out to staff at the primary building for helping to get kids in and out of cars. I understand that it has not been a very easy task for people to drop off and pick up, and that has been very much appreciated. So thank you.
Mary?
What Katie said.
You do? Jerry?
Okay. I've been going to a number of the girls and boys basketball games this year. And, you know, they've had, I would say, a little bit of a rough season. It's a weird season. And there's a couple of, probably the biggest thing I miss is our student section at those games. Because we've got the best student section in the league, and them not being able to attend is just kind of sad. But still going and supporting the kids. They both won last night, which was huge. The girls beat Fairborn and the boys beat Zeegan for the second time this year. The other thing though is the pep band has been playing in a number of home games, so it's neat getting to see the pep band do what they like to do on stage, and it helps both of them. Just on the return to school, kind of the thing for me, I drove by the high school the other morning when kids were coming back to the building, and this is strange, but the excitement was seeing school buses again. I just seen school buses driving in the building with kids on them and stuff, so it was just neat seeing that restart again. That's it.
Andy?
Okay, I'd like to acknowledge the staff and the work that they did for the Martin Luther King Day events, and also the participation from our students. A very broad range of students participating in those events. Great way to kick things off in honor of one of the civil rights individuals. I've been participating in Zoom calls with the Ohio Coalition for Equity and Advocacy on the pending legal action that they're taking on the doctor situation. It requires that get a determination whether it's constitutional or not. Ohio Constitution. And that's really about it for me.
Okay. Bowling, I've been to a couple of bowling contests, both guys and gals. The gals, of course, last year was second in the state of Ohio in their bowling competitions, but this year a lot of return lettermen coming back. and they feel pretty good about their chances again, possibly going to state. So I've been up there, staff at the local bowling lanes up on the hill there do a great job with our kids, and our kids are very respectful when they are in their facilities. We'd like to say thank you to Trimbach Landscaping for doing the clearing of our land for our new high school up and coming. The MLK judging, I was fortunate enough to be asked to do some judging on the artwork at the our MLK program. Great pictures, talented all up and down the aisle as far as the grade levels. Also, Black History Month. So I hope everybody will maybe take time, as I did over the weekend, in listening to MLK's speech. Man, what a speech they got here. And what a great job he did. And let this world wait to work. So with all that going on, and David Henson, thank you again for leading us. We appreciate what you do. Next item up is recognition of visitors and public comments. Mr. Fryland.
Mr. President, I have not seen anybody signed up to speak on the public comment.
Very good, thank you. Next on the agenda, school district presentations. I'll turn it over to Mr. Lobby.
Thank you, Mr. McCord. Periodically, we invite the director of the Fairborn Digital Academy to give an update to our board members. So with that, Mr. Eric Trich will be doing this virtually. So I'm going to move the microphone over to the computer here, and hopefully we can hear him and this will work. Go ahead.
No.
We can't hear you.
Fairborn City Board of Education first degree sponsored Fairborn Digital Academy back in 2002 because they recognized that some students were not able to be serviced within the traditional educational model. Two districts have worked in tandem to help support the students of Fairborn. I hope that partnership will continue even though FBA will be undertaking responsibility. We at Fairborn Digital Academy continue to remain consistent with the mission of supporting students of Fairborn and surrounding communities. I want to thank all of the board members for their support of Fairborn Digital Academy. I also look forward to meeting with you all about the future of how we can support Fairborn. Regarding the annual report, Fairborn Digital Academy was able to have our most successful year to date as we use online learning during lockdown. Academy's new sponsor, St. Aloysius, is a top-rated sponsor, and hopefully will be able to give us great support as we experience with Fairborn City Schools. We are still looking for a new home since our current building is part of the demolition schedule of Fairborn City Schools. But hopefully we will find a new place to spend our webs. Again, I want to thank the Fairborn City Schools for all of their support this last 18 years, and I look forward to the future of partnership with them. Does anyone have any questions?
Just want to say thank you, Eric, for such a good partnership. We appreciate you.
Again, thank you very much, Ms. Milan, and I hope that we'll be able to form new partnerships as we move forward.
If I could just add here, along that, the partnership dissolved. Unfortunately, when we voted to build new buildings, in that, bond issue was also the raising of black money. So that's the main reason why the partnership is dissolving right now. But that building will be raised here in the very near future. Any questions with that? Okay, thank you, Eric. Okay, next up, I'll move to the podium here. And it is always a joy, and this is the reason we are in this business. One is to educate children and to recognize children when great things happen. Fairborn City Schools was proud to partner with the Fairborn Diversity and Inclusion Committee to conduct a Martin Luther King Jr. art and essay contest. I'm happy to report that we had 68 participants from grades kindergarten through 12th grades, and students could enter in the categories of essay, original artwork, or video artistic expression. We are proud tonight to recognize our first place winners from Fairborn Intermediate, Baker Middle, and Fairborn High Schools. All participants from Fairborn Primary were recognized for their participation with a gift certificate from Judy's Ice Cream, thanks to a donation from a committee member. The essays and artwork have been on display at several local downtown businesses during the month of January. And before I get into announcing the students that we're going to recognize here tonight, the winners, we do have, I believe, 2 committee members here. Mrs. Bohannon is a committee member, if I'm not mistaken, and Amy Gayhart, who is part of this committee too. So this committee is in its infancy, and as we move along here, along the rest of this year and into next year, we're expecting bigger and greater things for our students. Okay? Thank you very much for your leadership on that committee. Without any further ado, when I read your name, if you would just stand to be recognized, and then I think we're going to try and maybe come up here and take a picture with the board members. Okay? All right. First place winners, Fairborn High School Essay Contest. Emily Fosnot. Fatimia Abu. Baker Middle School Essay. Serena Kassan. Fairborn Intermediate Essay. Trent Davidson. Fairborn High School Artwork. Lydia Sari. and Nicholas Colvin. Baker Middle School artwork, Jewel Henson. Fairborn Intermediate School artwork, Miriam Abu. Fairborn High School video, Emily Fosnot. And the Fairborn Intermediate School video, Deja Wallace. And these are your first award recipients for the first year for the Martin Luther King Jr. Art and Essay Contest. On behalf of the Board of Education and myself, congratulations for a job very well done. We are very, very proud of all of you. So if you would come up here and make your way up here, and we'll take a picture with the board, okay?
Pretend like we're socially distancing, so instead, you look good. Okay, shorter ones in the front, taller ones in the back. Yep. Gayheart has the camera. That's right, make it quick. Make your eyes squinty. Good? Everybody got it?
Great job.
All right.
You know, it has been a challenge getting through COVID, but it is extremely nice to see kids here tonight, and especially kids back into the building, learning face-to-face with our great teachers.
And with not great weather tonight either.
Right.
Yeah, so thank you all for coming out.
Yes,
We
thank
really
you very
appreciate
much.
being here.
Next up is our bond rating presentation from our school treasurer, Mr. Kevin Philo.
And
This
we'll
is your
pause
opportunity.
this. You can go.
This is your opportunity to run like the wind.
Yes.
Yeah, you don't have to sit through the
Unless
rest
you
if
want to
don't
sit
want
here and hear about 20 minutes
We
of
will
bond
not be
presentation.
offended.
Not you, Andy.
You can
Yes,
go
we
ahead
don't
and go
count
home
anything.
and get your
Please,
homework done.
Please feel free to
Yeah,
leave.
yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
I mean, Mr.
Thanks,
Philo
kiddos.
is exciting, but maybe not that exciting. Good job.
Good evening. It's my pleasure to present to the board the bond rating presentation that Superintendent Lally and myself presented last week to Moody's. Moody's is a credit rating agency. Think of presenting to a Wall Street rating company. And so we made this presentation last week. We are currently rated as a AA2 credit report. We were trying to get our credit rating improved, which Moody's has not improved anybody this entire pandemic. We found out today we were affirmed still at a AA rating. So
we didn't lose anything.
Jake, fix it, Jake. Fix it. So as you can see on here, it says strictly private and confidential. That was for last week. Since we have the rating in hand, we can share this. I'm not going to walk you through all 70-some pages, but we did make an impassioned plea to try to improve, and I think it hits the highlights of what Fairborn schools are, and also talks about our community and our economic indicators in the Miami Valley. I'm not going to walk through every slide. In terms of, we talked about the overview of the district. Superintendent gave an update. That was a question they had of what has COVID done to instruction. They were impressed with how we've handled it, both in person and the hybrid. Did an excellent job in that. We talked about this great Board of Education that we have, that we only had pictures for 4 of them though, so. But
Previous 4 years weren't any good.
got lost, I'm sorry. We talked about the labor relations, the excellent labor relations that we have. We talked about the raises that were given out last year and how we'll be entering into labor negotiations again this year. So that's always a thing that they focus on. We talked about the strong educational program that we have. Moody's focuses a lot on enrollment and enrollment projections. They just changed their model last week. Moody's liked boring and stable, and they changed their model last week to growing enrollment has a larger focus. So growing or stable is not as exciting as growing. So we tried to talk about how the district would be growing, but we're stable, and that's a good place to be. We talked about our current facilities. We talked about our facility projects, that everything is on time and on budget. They were impressed about our plan for the new high school, the new middle school, how we're going to leverage our local money with state money. We also made a separate page for the private donations that impressed them. And then we talked about after the issue is done, what will be done with those buildings and what our current and expected enrollment will be. We talked about the largest employers and how stable we were, and we tried to impress upon them. A realtor friend of mine says in real estate, there's other than location, the 3 things that are important are EDS, MEDS, and FEDS. EDS being educational institutes, MEDS being hospitals and doctors, and FEDS being the Air Force, etc. And so we tried to impress upon them that we were home of the largest single-site employer in the state of Ohio, Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, the Feds, that we were not only a military town, but we're also a college town, that we had the EDS here with Wright State University, and we had a lot of local hospitals here. So we tried to impress upon them those importance. Some of the things you can read about the Air Force Base and what's happened around the area. Largest taxpayers, the population. This is one of the things that we really stressed is our valuation. The 14.5% increase was the highest in Greene County, higher than Beaver Creek. We're very proud of that. We're very proud of how our community is growing wealth for themselves and for their families. So we think that's very important, and that was impressive to them. I won't go through the commercial, residential. We talked about the finances, and you've seen this before in terms of how we're balanced. We don't have all of our eggs in one basket, either from state funding or from local funds. It's a good balance that we have. We talked about the fiscal management, the things that we do. The financial highlights. One of the things that we talked about here was the surpluses that we've grown, that our cash balance is 61% of our operating revenue, that they were very impressed with. One thing about Wall Street is they love cash. They do love cash, so that impressed them. But this shows our revenues and expenditures. Talked about our budget flexibility. Our general fund, this is our 5-year forecast. Our election history, as we emphasize to them, that in the recent history we've been very successful. Current debt, the bond underwriter and the bond counsel talked about this. Even boring for me, and I live it, so. Talked about the outstanding debt, the summary, talked about how we wanted to seek an upgrade. Everything is vibrant in Dayton and Cincinnati, that we have an active board and administration, consistency of large cash balances, strong fiscal leadership, operating surpluses in 10 of the last 10 years. And that's it. So any questions? Hopefully you can find some interesting statistics in there. We also completed our comprehensive annual financial report. If anybody would like a copy of that, we have that available. We also have the official statement that we'll be offering for the bond sale. That's about 3 times the size of that, and the print is about 10 times smaller. But if you'd like a copy of that, we can get you that. So with that, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff.
Good job.
Gene, anything you'd like to add to that? Covered it. Okay, next up, for a facilities update from our Director of Business Operations, Mr. Jeff Patrick. And with the intermediate, I still continue my countdown. We're 18 months out with the intermediate, and with the high school, we are 30 months out.
Whoa, that's crazy. My car loan is longer than that.
Yeah, I'll do a quick update at the primary building. As it's been mentioned, we changed the traffic flow a little bit at the primary school to try to help with congestion, knowing that we were going to get a larger percentage of students back. I would call it still in the planning stages. Probably will be more changes to come. We're timing the amount of time that it takes to get the kids out of the cars, off the lots, and everything else. And we do have another plan in place, maybe add another entrance point, maybe have the kids get dropped off around the corner where the preschool entrance would be too, to allow more people out of their cars at the same time. So we're still working on that. We know that it's frustrating for people, but we are trying to fix that and work on that. We are still receiving and still have a few water leaks every once in a while. It's the same water line that we've had. It's the hot water line that heats the building. We've had a leak on the 25th and January the 30th. We had a meeting this week with OFCC, and I'm glad to report that OFCC is finally has their legal counsel involved. So we'll keep you up to date on that and so forth. The intermediate's was moving along really well until last week's weather and this week's weather. It slowed down. We're to the point in time where you're putting up a lot of concrete walls, and with temperatures and snow and so forth, that kind of is hindered. So not that we're behind schedule, but the weather the last 2 weeks has not been great to do what we need to do at this point in time. We've met with several contractors out on the new high school site to look at clearing the brush and the trees. Before we took a small piece of about 20 acres and knocked down the brush and so forth. We're looking to basically take the whole rest of the site that we will be building on, athletic complexes at the north end, the 2 schools in the middle, and the bus driveway, and look to cut those trees down, brush down, and so forth. We hope to have that done hopefully the end of March. We have till about March 31st to get that done. And if we do that, then we don't have to worry about the Indiana bat species. This is the time of the year where they have basically migrated south, so we've got a few weeks left to do whatever we need to do without causing any problems. So hopefully we get those estimates back. We're trying to get 3 estimates to do that, and it's actually, to believe it or not, it's hard to find a company that's big enough to be able to take care of the approximately 30 acres that we need to really cut down trees, brush, and everything else. So we've had a company from Kentucky come up and look at it, and trying to get a couple from the state of Ohio. So that's kind of a facility update of where we stand currently.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks, Jeff. Thank you, Mr. Patrick. Tonight, I would like to thank the following daycares, community partners for their support of our students to be successful. The daycares and staff members help our students to log in to do their work, and they welcome our staff into their centers for assessments. These community partners play a critical role in the success of our students, especially during this time with remote learning. Thank you for your commitment and for helping our students to be successful. We would like to recognize the following daycares: the Fairborn YMCA, Creative World, Eyes of Wonder, Kinder Care in Beaver Creek, Child Time, Kitty Launch, Days of Discovery in Beaver Creek, and the Prairies. And we will be presenting them. I don't think we have any representatives here tonight, but we will be presenting them with a certificate. So I will see that they get those. But again, on behalf of the Board of Education, we sincerely thank those daycare centers for helping our kids and our staff to be successful also.
They've got an additional burden on them as well. Yes.
Okay, next on the agenda from the Departments of Budget and Finance, it is recommended that the Board of Education accept the receipt of the monthly financial report for December 2020. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Mary.
Second.
Thanks, Jerry. Roll call, please.
Ms. Reister,
Yes.
Mr. Browning,
Yes.
Mrs. Malad,
Yes.
Mr. Wilson,
Yes.
Mr. McCord.
Yes. Next up, administrative reports and superintendent's recommendations. Quite a lengthy list that we've all had a chance to take a look-see prior to the meeting this evening. In there, you will see resignations for football coach Randall Kearns, and you will see approving a supplemental contract for a new football coach in hometown boy Corey Harden. Going to page 6, may I have a motion to accept?
So moved.
Second?
Thanks, Jerry. Andy, roll call, please.
Mr. Browning,
Yes.
Mr. Wilson,
Yes.
Mrs. Malad,
Yes.
Ms. Reister,
Yes.
Mr. McCord.
Yes. Next item is gifts and donations. Mr. Wilson, in that we've missed you for the past couple meetings. Glad to see you here in person. Would you take the gifts and donations, please?
Certainly. We have Jim White, who donated Principal Lewis Reed's collection of yearbooks. I don't know how far back they go, but that's a significant piece of history for us to retain. Then we have then a list of turf field donors. Bill Arnold, $50. KC and RL Barber, $150. Jerry and Jane Bach, $50. Jane Clifton, $1,000. Fairborn Parks Foundation, $200. Bernard and Maria Gamble, $50. John and Kathleen Jehoda, $50. Robert and Mary Martin, $50. Terry Miller, $100. James and Myra Minch, $50. Craig Moore, a very generous $2,000. Stephen and Karen Neff, $100. Bruce and Kimberly Porter, $100. Lieutenant Colonel W.F. and M.R. Power, $25. Steve Ross, $25. Melvin and Joan Sturts, $35. And James and Melissa White, $100. Thank you all for your generous donations to our turf project that we're with matching grants and so forth that we have. And got a letter just today soliciting additional donations for that.
Right.
So.
Thank you, Andy.
Mr. President, at this time, we'll go into a work session. After work session, we anticipate going into an executive session. After the executive session, we don't anticipate any other action items after that.